All right, we got me, Iron Inquisitor, and I got two guests with me.
Jedi Knight, and warning, incoming game. Warning, incoming game. Me.
What's up? Scary movie reference. Look it up.
So we got some big news here.
I've been kind of hoping this would happen to a degree, but
Dark Horse.
yeah, Dark Horse has the rights again to make Star Wars comics.
Yeah, but it's for the new canon. It's not for Legends. Though.
Yeah, basically they're gonna be making High Republic stuff.
I mean, you never know. It could be a blessing in disguise because let's face it, Marvel's art is complete shit right now. Like,
Yeah,
seeing what they've done.
Oh my god! Did you guys see the?
I absolutely love it about the Dark Horse era is, generally the art was just
Stellar.
It was godly. It was good. It was appealing to look at. The art of in a lot of the issues of Star Wars Legacy, for example, like whoever the artist who did that, most of the comics, anyways, was stellar.
What I saw in a comment on the Mandalore server is that at least it's going to ensure the quality goes up a little, and I think that's indisputable, even if they're just doing it for like the Disney canon timeline.
Honestly, I just want it for the art because, like I said, it's Marvel's art along with IDW's is complete shit right now. Like, there's only one good artist on the High Republic comics, and that's the guy Ario Arendito. The other guy, I don't mean to come across as harsh, but his art just looks, ugly.
Oh god, did you guys see those comments from a few years ago where some racist made Mace Windu look like a monkey and they fattened
Oh, I was gonna bring that up.
God,
that
not
was
that.
awful.
That was just
horrible.
That was despicable.
Does it say something about their own racism, maybe? I think so.
I don't know.
At least it got trending recently.
Yeah, that comic actually came out a few years ago.
Yeah,
it did.
But it didn't get attention until now. That's funny.
No.
Honestly, the worst thing is that it's a kid's comic, so yeah, like even the kids' comics had better art than that back in the day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all I've read from Dark Horse so far is the first two Tales of the Jedi, Golden Age of Sith and Fall of the Sith Empire. But I like them. I think they're very good. Story.
Oh, yeah. Also, the art of like Star Wars Republic and the
KOTOR
Clone
comics
Wars parts of Star Wars Republic is excellent too. Like,
don't forget the KOTOR comics.
Oh yes, those two.
I think Tales of the Jedi is just underrated.
Didn't they have to switch artists every now and then too, like they do with other comic books?
They did, and sometimes the art would get a little weird with some of them, but those were just. It was sometimes.
And I think they also had multiple artists instead of just one person.
That's true. But...
So it didn't. So I think comics took shorter amounts of time to come out.
Yeah, well, they've hired people who just can't keep up with the deadlines, and so they steal art.
Honestly, screw deadlines. Like, there's no point to having them, especially if it puts quality under everything else.
And deadlines especially hurts video game developers.
Yeah, look at KOTOR 2, for example. They had to cut a crapload of content out, especially the Planet M478, and thankfully we had dedicated fans who put most of that content back into the game. I would recommend.
Thank goodness, a lot of it was in the game's code too already.
Yeah, with the exception of a few voice dialogues of the droids.
I think a truly creative person could work within a deadline, but I'm creative and I can't work within a deadline. I couldn't.
Neither can I.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes you just want to take your time with projects.
It's best not to put an extraordinary amount of quality into your work, otherwise it could come across as too good. I know that sounds a little odd and a little strange, but if you think about it, if you make something look too realistic, it sort of mixes into reality a bit. I don't know. I basically just be rambling about this, and I don't really want to do that.
what happens when they get perfect voice audio synthesis. You're going to see, for example, X's framing their X's out of spite. Just to name one example. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, that technology can be evil, potentially
gonna-
used for a lot of evil
It's
purposes.
going to be great for independent artists, very bad for society. So, guys, can I ask you a question?
what?
Well, since Dark Horse is returning, what do you think the odds are they're going to at least throw a new Legends comic our way? I still think the odds are very, very not good.
I don't know what the odds are.
We'll see. It's just so hard to say at this point. I mean, because that is one thing about Dark Horse getting it. Like, we could potentially see, old storylines brought back and actually finished with the same writers and the same artists. Like, I was so disappointed, especially with Dawn of the Jedi, the way that got axed, because it was so cool. Like 10 years ago, it's like, yeah, they're exploring the canon origin story of the Jedi, but then nope, we're just gonna cut it short. Like that was so cool, but it was just it's why that era is just like had so much potential but didn't reach it, or never reached it.
I don't know. I still just think that they're gonna have a hard time giving fans Legends. But what about Star Wars Invasion? The Vong. Here, that really broke the continuity.
I didn't know about that.
Sort of. It just kind of is shoehorned in. That comic should have come out like in the late 90s, early 2000s when they were working on New Jedi Order, which what's funny is that comic was my first introduction to like the whole like Vong themselves, because I haven't read New Jedi Order yet. So
I got to admit though, if the next legend was the follow-up to Star Wars Invasion, I'd read it. I'd grab it.
Yeah, even if it was Invasion, I'd be all over that.
Yeah, and then Heart of the Jedi came out a few months ago, and then you guys went on a spending spree and bought like maybe 10, 15 copies.
I have 6 copies. I was going to give one to Iron. I just can't find a way to get it there. Finances are strapped tight.
Yeah, I understand,
Ouch.
man. But whenever you can get it, I will definitely be doing an unboxing video.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I called home and I told them about it because, where I'm not allowed to spend money right now, so I wasn't able to get it.
You didn't get it in time.
And you see, my parents didn't realize that this could have been taken off of
Anytime.
Amazon at any moment.
Yeah, and this is why I'm not a member of the fandom menace. It suits their narrative to say it was Disney. But honestly, I'm hard pressed to say that seller didn't want like a canon versus Legends war, even though it was the new canon fans that were starting stuff. So he just kind of moderated, just like, oh, this side, that side. He could have just taken it down. He just wanted one for his own personal collection, and then it just blew up.
I mean, some of the fandom menace people or whoever they are, they escalated a bit, but you are right. It kind of was the canon fans who started all this.
And my problem is just saying we will never know for sure who took that down, but I'm just glad I got it.
Yeah, and now it's going for hundreds of thousands of dollars on eBay. What even was Heart of the Jedi exactly?
So, Heart of the Jedi was a canceled book that was supposed to come out in 1993.
And it got replaced by the Truce at Baccarat.
Oh, I didn't know that.
How bad was that
That's
book?
what they
Was it
switched
good?
it to. That's what I hear from that in this circle.
Was that a good book or no?
I haven't read it yet. I might go back because I'm kind of doing my journey like Thrawn trilogy and onwards.
Yeah, at the moment, my reread includes the Thrawn trilogy. I'm going to finish that for the first time, and also Jedi Apprentice, going through a big reread. That is such a good series. Like, if you guys have played KOTOR, you go to Telos and the Jedi Apprentice books.
Yeah.
In fact, I think Jedi Apprentice is where Telos came from.
Yeah, it Room of a Thousand Fountains that Kreia mentions that has fallen still in reverence to the fallen Jedi. That came from Jedi Apprentice.
It just shows, how
The
great the
interconnectivity.
continuity of Star Wars was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like the way Disney's trying to achieve continuity and interconnectivity,
Sell, 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 sell. That's how they think.
not exactly. It's just they're
It's mostly just Easter eggs.
It's the Dave Filoni type of continuity.
it's basically they're trying to make every single little thing interconnect.
I don't know.
Yeah, like let's see. I was reading more Light of the Jedi this morning, and they actually referenced, and we got to see the Santekas. Do you remember that guy who got killed by Kylo Ren at the beginning of The Force Awakens?
Yeah, Lor Santeca.
Who was... It really didn't do much.
Other than die.
Yeah. And give the whole, like... Starkiller base plans. And his family was, like, living on... Or the Santekas were, like, living on Naboo.
Yeah. They were all around during the High Republic, too.
And they're hiding something, it seems like, from what I was reading.
Yep.
You know what's so great about the Jedi Apprentice series, to get back to that, is just how mature the writing is. It just one event leads into another event. It's like older sci-fi serials, and mind control and population shortages, and just it feels so rich. Like I'll give you an example. Prince Beju, he's conspiring with a criminal syndicate on Findar in order to retain his own power. And at the end of the next book series, he's come over to the other side and see that he's not the heir, and he just wants a normal life suddenly, to be treated like everyone else. It's a former villain from our eyes who turns around and goes good. That's what I love about it. The EU.
Oh, and this kind of circles back to Dark Horse, which we were talking about.
Yeah.
One of the last Dark Horse comics that came out was like very late in the era. It was called Jedi: The Dark Side, and it was basically
Xanatos.
Yeah, it was almost like a prequel to Jedi Apprentice, but like in comic form.
Yeah.
And you got to see Qui-Gon, Xanatos.
There is a retcon there. The third apprentice that Qui-Gon had before Xanatos, and it's a small retcon, sure, but
it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, it's just I haven't read those yet. They're on my list. But
honestly, I do feel bad for Xanatos in a way.
Oh.
But then again, he chose his own path, became a dark Jedi, and look what happened to him.
I don't. He was a fraudulent politician who he was Palpatine for the children out there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
what other series do we have very late on? Oh yeah, there was the Dark Times.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
It was like Vader's hunting down Jedi.
Yeah, and I think Crook started a small little enclave as well.
Yeah, there was a story about him escaping Order 66 with another Jedi Padawan and a group of younglings, and they kind of went around.
You know what the sad thing is about the EU is pretty much everything they're making has to be in some way as if it could tie into a larger media tie-in that they're doing for Legends reprints, or that it's something where they can encourage headcanon. Oh, it can exist in our timeline. So they're printing Shatterpoint, the Darth Bane novels, but you're more likely to get Jedi Apprentice reprints than Young Jedi Knights, because that directly conflicts with the sequels, like completely.
But here's the thing: if Darth Bane fits, Bane's this huge, muscular wrestler in the expanded universe, whereas in canon he's basically Shredder.
A floating coffin. That's what I see.
Shredder Bane.
Yeah, and his lightsaber was some kind of weird staff thing, not an actual lightsaber.
It's just proof that Filoni knows nothing about the source material. I mean, early on there was a picture about Bane in his Orbalisk armor, but that didn't make it.
Yeah, because he cut it out. Same
And
with
it
Revan.
doesn't
Same with
fit.
Revan.
It definitely didn't fit because, like, Filoni claims he played KOTOR, but it's just like, does he know the canon ending?
Oh, look at how I botched the planetary appearances of Onderon, even though they kept a consistency between Tales of the Jedi to the KOTOR games. And where's Duxon? And he also botched the appearance of Malachor 5, among others. You know,
Actually, he didn't. They never said that was Malachor 5. It could have been a different one.
Yeah, but come on. The only people who are going to care are the older fans. The younger kids wouldn't get it. It's Malachor 5. And it just shows how he just...
Your command echoes, General. I obey as I did at Malachor, or whatever he said.
Your command echoes still, General, and I obey, as I did at Malachor 5.
Where do you cling to as the darkness falls around you?
Honestly, that moment where she just flat out exposes Atris's corruption is just great.
It is such a quiet thing to fall, but far more terrible is to admit it.
Honestly, because I just wanted to see that bitch get her comeuppance so much.
There is one line I like that's totally true. The Republic was never what was important ever. It is but a shell that surrounds the Jedi, just as the teachings of the Jedi are but a shell surrounding the heart of man. You see, the war, the true war, has been one waged by droids and warships and soldiers. These are crude matter, obstacles against which we must test ourselves. The true war is waged in the heart of all living beings against our own natures, light and dark. That is what shapes this galaxy, not these creations of man.
Speaking of which, I
So
think
deep.
in the game for one of the restored content pieces, you are actually supposed to train with the Visas and do some lightsaber combat with her.
That'd be great.
Oh yeah, I actually did that when I was playing.
I got I got Steam yesterday, and I downloaded a couple Star Wars games, and I got the restored content mod today when I started KOTOR 2. But there's one mod that I'm having trouble downloading because I can't figure out how to put it in. It's the Gina Haradan Legacy Quest.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky to install non-Steam mods. It just sometimes doesn't work.
Well, because the guy, it can work, it's just the guy, excuse me, the guy doesn't know if he wants to put it on Steam yet, or if it's capable of being able to go on there.
Here's the question I asked since we're in the mood of KOTOR. To be honest, I want to say this. If there's a chance we're ever going to get new Legends with what they're doing with KOTOR, I think it's likely to be some Old Republic stuff, whether in KOTOR or all that other stuff,
I mean, I heard SWTOR was getting another expansion or something like that.
Yeah, I'm still saying it. They're not going to put the Legends brand on that. It could be like the original game, but they're not going to put the Legends banner on that because they don't think that sells.
Oh, and also speaking of KOTOR and the whole Dark Horse comics, man, I'm not sure if I want it in book form or comic form, but I'd like more adventures from Zane Carrick. Like, what happened to that guy?
Honestly,
what did he do during the later part of the Mandalorian Wars? Where was he during the Jedi Civil War? Did he survive the first purge?
Speaking of,
what happened?
I actually like to believe him and Jariel survived the Dark Wars.
Yeah, speaking of Tales of the Jedi, I just want to know what happened to Jory Daragon. He took over Arba's shop, or Arba is how people pronounce it, and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, would it be weird if she was related to Nomi's Sunrider? That'd be bizarre.
That'd be an interesting connection. But yeah, what if Zane survives and, since you could say what a Jedi should be, he kind of helps to rebuild.
One question I do have is, what happened to his yellow lightsaber?
His yellow lightsaber, spoiler alert for those of you who haven't, he lost it when he was confronting Hazen.
Hazen.
Yeah, because the Republic fleet fired upon the Dre estate, and he got flung away from the bombardment, and his lightsaber was still there on the ground.
No, Ray took it.
Hmm. I don't know. I don't. I like him better with a yellow one rather than a blue one.
Yeah, I really like him with a yellow blade too. I mean, I like the design of his new lightsaber, but I like him having a yellow blade.
I kind of like to believe that his blue one eventually got destroyed, and then he rebuilt another yellow one.
I mean, there's a lot that could happen.
Hmm.
I also heard of the theory that Zane would go dark later, so the prophecy vision about him going dark was still right.
I think it's better. I think it's better that it never happened.
Yeah.
Especially, also, I think Lucian Dry survived as well, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, he survived the Dark Wars, didn't he?
I don't know if he survived that. There was rumors that he could have potentially become Scion, but it also hinted that he went away from that destiny.
Yeah, and he went. I think his foresight finally came about, and he went completely blind too.
Yep, that's right. So he finally basically had the gift he wanted that his mother had. Let's see.
I got to admit, I'm looking forward to finally get around to reading the Republic comics. Just what I read sounds so good.
Oh, you are not going to be
Dirge.
disappointed, dude. Like,
Quinlan Voss and the Infinity Gate. Yeah.
By the way,
well, basically the Stargates of Star Wars.
the novel Shatterpoint I heard is really fucked up. Is that true?
Yeah, well, in what sense? Because it is like adapting the Heart of Darkness book, like Apocalypse Now, to Mises' home planet. His home planet is pretty much like something out of Vietnam, you know?
That's what I meant. Like, it tackles really.
Yeah, this one girl they were
subject.
with who was like these band of gorillas, she was, shall we say, well, you could probably imagine, but they got the guys who did it. It's just she's still damaged from her assault. But it's like these outsiders and these natives type thing. And Haran Ka, which is where Mace Windu comes from, is this dangerous planet. It's like these high plateaus in between the volcanic ash and dust that just forms these kind of smoke oceans. You know, it just dip too far into it and you choke and suffocate.
I heard that Mace Windu's people were all naturally force sensitive on his homeworld.
Yeah, most of them. I think it's from a crashed Republic ship, which is how they got there.
Yeah. Isn't it because. How did the Mira Luca come about? Oh, no, wait. I think I remember that. Actually, scratch that. I remember now.
Yeah, their homeworld of Alpharides, I believe it was called, orbited a very dim, like, red dwarf star, so...
You know the funny thing is, for the longest time, I thought there was a Mira Luca in Jedi Apprentice. Turns out it's not a Mira Luca. It's just some blind alien.
I think the Mira Luca first appeared in Star Wars and Tales of the Jedi. I might be wrong, but I might be right.
I think the best part about Tales of the Jedi, from what I know about it, was basically just the journey of Exar Kun.
Yeah.
And I also always really love the Nomi Sunrider stuff. Like,
it's kind of funny.
Her story was so well done.
It's kind of ironic too, because he basically wants to become immortal, yet he committed some form of suicide to achieve immortality.
And then the Jedi trapped him in that temple.
The irony.
Ironic.
He could save himself from death. He could save others from death, but not himself. Do you think Vima Sunrider survived the Dark Wars as well?
Hard to say, because after that one, the last arc of Tales of the Jedi Redemption, that was the last time we ever saw her.
Because
You
I
know
know
what
she
I
trained. I know she trained Mitra.
to get off. You know what I'd love to see, assuming that Dark Horse is allowed to print new legends in comic form. I'd love to explore whatever became of Ollie Starstone and the rest of the crew at the Drunk Dancer after their failed attempt to foment insurrection against the Empire on Kashyyyk. You know, Vader killed Master Shrine and got a new commitment to the dark side, and yeah, that's how the Wookiees became slaves. I'd love to follow up on that book. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, and there were still 70 Jedi by the time of Empire Strikes Back. So,
That
what
would mean
became of those 70?
that would mean Ollie Starstone had to fight Vader at one point, and she probably will. I like to imagine she's buying time for some refugees or something to escape. That would be good. The question is, did she figure out it's Anakin or not? I think what would be better is she figures out that he killed Master Shrine, which she had respect for.
And
That would be
I remember doing a what do you want to call it? Kind of like a research, and it seems like there was like around only 20 other survivors
yeah. When you
by
consider
like
that,
Return of the Jedi.
when you consider that there were like 10,000 Jedi altogether, many of them spread over the galaxy, that suddenly does that makes sense? Definitely.
And I hear some people complain about having like 200 Jedi surviving Order 66 is too much, and I'm like, not really.
Not really.
No,
compared
there
to
were
10,000.
10,000. So
Which is
that's
still
a low
not
number
like a great number if you look at how big the galaxy is. So
How many Jedi there were?
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to know is how many survived in canon?
So far, we only know of 25.
Just because Yoda said Luke was the last doesn't mean he was. We know from the post-Endor stuff there were some Jedi that survived, so it would have to be
Ahmed.
probably around a dozen, I think.
The
True,
way
there was
I
one-
interpret it is like Luke was the only one out there actively being a Jedi. Everyone else gave up the ways or fell to the dark side. So,
Or who was trained by the last of the old guard, kind of like Bane was. The Bane line of the Sith were the one who had been trained at the Brotherhood of Darkness, but with actual Sith lore that they had, those parchment scrolls that were just stored everywhere. Yeah. So Bane was like knee deep in lore, and he just passed that down for millennia.
True.
I would also love to see a Darth Zanna trilogy.
Oh God, Drew Carpenter wants to do that. They won't let him. So whatever.
I don't like Carpishin's views towards KOTOR 2, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't. He's probably like most people who didn't like it. I hear it compared to being the last Jedi of the EU. I don't know. I feel as if I can't speak to the Last Jedi. Chris Avellone did extensive research before making that, so I don't know how accurate that is.
He knew what he was. Unlike Rian Johnson, he knew Chris Avellone knew what he was doing.
Yeah, but the problem was he wanted to go for that Empire Strikes Back ending, and the Empire Strikes Back was just the in between. That's the same thing with Rian Johnson. I think that they both fell into that trap.
I don't consider it a trap. Like, he was setting up something, but frickin' LucasFilm, LucasArts screwed him over.
I hear from Iron Inquisitor that they were going to do something like the Shadows from Babylon 5 for KOTOR 3, and I'm just like, geez, what a missed opportunity. What do you want? Mr. Bourne, what do you want?
Yeah, I heard they were gonna do stuff with the Sith Empire, but they were going to be like very powerful. Like,
oh God!
Yeah, and your party members you start off with are actually going to be T3 and HK-47.
That would have been so cool. And doing like the Shadows, it just would have been so cool. You do not speak for the others. They will not follow.
You know what's funny? Is during the tutorial of the game, HK-47 you had to carry him on your back because he had his legs blown off, and you would have had to reassemble his legs.
Oh, God,
that would have been funny.
And now Babylon 5 is being rebooted. What do you expect? JMS is selling out. I really miss that days when we had more creative spark. The ending with the shadows was so good. It's over because we decided it's over. Now get the hell out of our galaxy, both of you. It's just he drove them out of the galaxy. It's cool.
I can't wait to watch Babylon 5. That's gonna
Yeah.
be fun.
Best.
Also, but you know what's funny about the whole thing with HK? The fact that he's touching a meat bag for God knows how long.
Oh,
I know it probably would have just been Mitra that you were playing with or as, but still, the thought of HK-47 being on the back of a meat bag, that's got to be a nightmare for him.
He'd
You
probably go
know,
like, "Oh."
I have a worse thought. Imagine
What?
AK-47 something like the Borg, where it's part organic, part machine. I think he'd have a heart attack.
Oh, he
He'd
would.
be
Believe me,
intrigued
he
but
would.
horrified at the same time.
Very horrified.
So yeah, big news for Dark Horse. Anything else you can think about that?
Not really. I'm just in it for the art. Like, I hope it improves.
Yeah, because Disney Star Wars, it's the same as Disney Star Wars is ever going to be. And maybe just keep a lookout for new legends. I really want to see what Matt and his crew say about this. Looking
Yeah, I'm
forward to the
very
next
curious
more
too.
civilized
I want to
age.
hear their thoughts.
Yes,
Maybe we should have Matt Wilkins on. That would be great.
he's so hard to get on.
Yeah, he's a busy guy.
Yeah.
Can't blame him.
And he stays away from the internet for the most part, which is a smart move.
He does a more civilized age, though. At least
Yes.
he's still doing that.
I'm glad. Yeah.
God, it's been a busy year for the EU, hasn't it? Put EU cartoons on Disney Plus, even though you're mismarking them deliberately. Got Legends reprints, Heart of the Jedi, and Dark Horse came back to. So overall, it's been a good year for Star Wars fans, at least at the more local level. I think for the big fans, it's like those mainstreamers. You still have Last Jedi in the timeline. That's not going to change.
True.
Yeah, that's the problem I have with a lot of the fandom menacers is they want to improve the new canon. They want to focus on improving that. It's like they somehow think it can be saved in
And
some
I think Dave
ways.
Filoni can do it and give us expanded universe at the same time.
He can't.
No, he doesn't want to. Yeah. So, any suggestion on where I go to Dark Horse next after I finish Tales of the Jedi? Well,
You could read the KOTOR comics.
to be honest, yeah. What are they like? It looks good from just what I was able to get privately.
One of the reasons why I like it is, Zane character, or Zane character, he's really relatable because,
He's a Jedi, isn't he?
yeah, because when they were writing KOTOR, they're like, we want to create a character who is like not the average Jedi, because I don't know sorry, my brain's kind of going. So when they said like a lot of comics and stories focus on like the most powerful Jedi of their era, but they said they wanted to focus on just kind of like an average Jedi.
That would be interesting, just an average Joe.
And Zane's interesting because he also kind of has some sort of weird, almost like disability with his whole like connection to the Force.
Oh, that sounds intriguing. Makes you wonder why they haven't brought it yet back. Disabled. How about the Legacy comics?
Oh, Legacy is really good. Like Cade Skywalker, like a lot of the haters say, "Oh, he's too edgy," but I'm like, yeah, but he has a reason for being that way.
What's his deal? It sounds like he has issues with the Skywalkers or the Solos.
Well, basically, you know about the whole one Sith, right?
Vaguely, but yeah, I do. Darth.
Yeah,
Vader.
they come and there's kind of like a war between the New Empire and the Galactic Alliance and the Sith
Fell
ally.
Empire.
And, you know, Cade's father gets killed, and Cade, you know, has some struggle with the dark side.
Yeah.
And he kind of falls in with... He abandons the Jedi way after he escapes. He kind of falls in with some pirates.
Yeah.
Didn't Cade also go on to rebuild the Jedi Order after it was crippled again?
He did help defeat Darth Krayt, but he kind of wanted to go on his own path, kind of just around.
The
I was gonna
biggest
say,
selling
who
point.
rebuilt the Jedi?
Let's see. Kukruk. I think Kukruk became Grand Master. That's all I know.
You know, speaking of you reread, what I like about Heir to the Empire is it's built slowly but consistently. You know, the moment where I am, Leia just arrived at Kashyyyk with Chewie, and Han and Lando are running interference as a decoy somewhere else. Thrawn isn't falling for it. He's one smart cookie, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's very good, you know. I like it.
Yeah.
See, I'm still on the Black Fleet Crisis.
Yeah, plus we're reading Animorphs. I'm still doing that, you know. So I'll leave you two to your final thoughts on what you think about Dark Horse, and then it seems as if we can wrap it up.
Honestly, I hope it does good. I just hope it does good.
Yeah, even if it is High Republic, which I will probably read it at some point.
Yeah.
I'll read all the comics because, you know, like I said, I'm reading Light of the Jedi right now, but I'll get into the comics, and I really hope whatever they bring us from Dark Force with regards to High Republic is good.
Yeah,
Hopefully it will be.
even though we're just getting the Disney canon timeline, at least wish their fans well. It's just how Matt Wilkin put it. My team's not playing, but I hope it does well. I hope that people are happy, but you know, it's Disney Star Wars. It probably it's going to be a while before we feel that way.
And I'm glad that Dark Horse has it back in some capacity.
Yeah.
All right. So, anyways, that's kind of our thoughts and ramblings on random stuff too. So,
Yep.
we'll see you guys around.
Have a good night.
Later.